all ready? Ready, Magda?
Yep.
You can go.
That's
You go.
My name is Walter Willison, and I welcome you here tonight. There's a couple things before we start that I would like to say. First of all, Magda Katz, our fantastic producer who's arranged for this whole thing. We want to thank Magda Katz. I want to thank the Lands Foundation, who sponsored us and gave us this room. Thanks to Magda. The Lands Foundation. For those who don't know, the Lands Foundation is an organization that contributes money to the Actors Fund and Entertainment Community Fund, to the other funds that help people in the business that are in financial need, actors and writers and directors, and they contribute to theater companies too that are in need, like the York Theater. So you probably already put a couple of dollars in there. If you feel more compelled to put a couple more dollars on your way out, if you like this, we would accept it grandly. Now, turn off your cell phones, please. Turn them off. In fact, I have to turn my ringer off, see? Now, this is really neat. As you'll hear the history of this play when we do our little 35-minute thing. Patrick Guillen is from Paris. Can you believe he came from Paris? He's a director. He directed William Montefiore. He's acted in Paris, among other things. And he's all the way from Paris where they're having their own problems right now. Yes. So, anyway, this play, which we want to thank Wesley Savick, James Carroll, and Rachel DeWoskin for writing. And they have created this movement across the United States. Right now, as we are in this room doing this, there are 91 productions in 74 cities and towns in 24 states. And we are grateful they call us their flagship production because we are in this wonderful space. And here's historically something interesting that you won't hear in the play. Sinclair Lewis, who you'll hear about in the play, who wrote the book and then the original play this is based on, he was a member of the Lambs Club. So these things are so these paintings on the wall here that you're seeing, all these fabulous paintings, and these portraits and these statuary, he looked at these. I mean, he was here, he was in the other location, but he was nonetheless, he was around these objects. His wife, who you'll hear from in the play, was around all these objects. So there's an energy here that's very extraordinarily extra special. So I guess that's all I want to say is that enjoy what we have to say, and I'm going to turn my phone completely off.
Walter.
What?
Walter, the pub.
What? You want to take pictures? Sure. As long as you share them with us. That's
What?
as long as you share
Walter,
them with us.
Walter.
And
The pub.
Pub.
Oh, yes, Maggie wanted me to announce that downstairs there is a pub that has great food and drinks. Even though if you're not a member, you're welcome to go there afterwards and have drinks. They do take credit cards. So if you are hungry and you feel like it, it's open to everybody to go to. And I think that's all we have
It's
to
on the
say.
second floor.
On
2M.
the second floor.
2M.
Talk back.
And
Talk
What?
back.
2M is the pub, so if you're interested in that.
Walter.
Walter,
Yes.
a talk back.
Oh, and we've been asked to do a talk back after. We were going to do that, but we've been asked by Max, so people have asked for it. So after we finish the play, we'll have a little talk back. And
It'll be
discussion,
short.
And anybody can say whatever they want to say.
Sure.
And contribute. I just want to thank you again so much for being here to support this. This is a historic event, folks. I mean, it may not seem like it now, but when they start saying, you know, back in 2024, those people got together at the Lambs Club and heard this play, and it changed the direction of history. Let's do it. Yeah. I would like to introduce our fabulous cast. First of all, Joanna Rush. Jennifer Bassey. James Rappaport. And curtain goes up.
It can't happen here.
A statement.
A declarative statement.
An ironic statement.
It can't happen here.
A provocation.
A warning.
The ultimate denial of reality.
It can't happen here.
The title of a play and novel by Sinclair Lewis.
Which perfectly expresses the complicity
And complacency.
of America in 1936.
And
now,
In 1936, the tide of authoritarian dictatorship was flowing.
In 2024, the tide of authoritarian dictatorship is flowing.
in 1936, Adolf Hitler's stormtroopers reoccupied the Rhineland, a signal of a forbidden German armament that went unopposed.
in 2024, Vladimir Putin began the third year of his full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
In 1936, Francisco Franco claimed totalitarian powers in Spain, and the brutal Spanish Civil War was ignited.
In 2024, the war between Israel and Hamas splintered the American left, threatening its ability to defend democracy.
In 1936, the Great Purge was underway in the Soviet Union, marked by the murders of 700,000 people. A tsunami of blood that secured the tyranny of Joseph Stalin.
In 2024, Xi Jinping crushed feminist movements in China, silencing women who have accused powerful men of sexual assault. In North Korea, Kim Jong-un spurred women to seek refuge abroad at roughly 3 times the rate of men. And in Afghanistan, the Taliban's victory has erased 20 years of progress on women's access to education and representation in public office and the workforce.
And in the United States of America,
On October 27, 1936, in the United States of America, 1 week before a presidential election,
An election which would determine not only the fate of the New Deal, but of democracy itself.
21 coast-to-coast productions of a new play premiered simultaneously on 21 stages in 17 American cities. The play was called
it can't happen here.
Based on the novel by Sinclair Lewis, America's first and at that time only Nobel laureate in literature.
That play, like our performance tonight, asks what happens when dictatorship threatens democracy.
And less obviously,
What happens when complacency begets complicity.
In 1936, Hallie Flanagan was invited to do something big.
I was asked by Harry Hopkins, a former classmate at Grinnell, to lead a newly created federal theater project. Harry, wouldn't you know, was the head of the Works Progress Administration, director of America's first and only national theater? Hey, not bad for a girl from Redfield, South Dakota, huh?
She immediately commissioned Sinclair Lewis to write a stage adaptation of his novel.
It can't happen here, because it is a play about American life today. The play says that when dictatorship comes to threaten democracy, it comes in an apparently harmless guise, with parades and promises. But that when such dictatorship arrives, the promises are not kept, and the parade grounds become encampments. We as American citizens should like to do what we can to keep alive the free, inquiring, critical spirit, which is the center and core of a democracy.
the play opened on the very same night in Birmingham and Denver,
Omaha and Los Angeles,
a New York production in Yiddish,
Spanish production in Tampa,
A black production in Seattle.
featuring white actors as the villains.
In an article about the 21 simultaneous productions, the New York Times wrote, "Thousands of Americans who do not know what fascist dictatorship would mean now have an opportunity to find out."
and today, on July 19th, 2024,
One day after the third consecutive nomination of Donald J. Trump to be the Republican candidate for President of the United States,
Writers for Democratic Action invites us to gather for a reading.
and a call to action,
The play you are now watching.
like the one staged across the country on October 27, 1936.
Is being publicly performed across America in bookstores and public
In
squares,
theaters and coffee
in
houses,
churches and bars,
in multiple cities and towns and
In-
villages.
in multiple states.
We are gathered together to ask,
What's happening here?
What has happened here?
Can it happen here?
And
what
What
can we do
can
about
we do
it?
about it?
welcome all.
We so appreciate your presence here.
Thank you for coming.
Together, we can make a difference.
Together we can make our voices heard.
Welcome all.
The protagonist of Lewis's play is a small town newspaper editor named
Doremus Jessup, Daily Informer, Beulah Valley, Vermont.
the populist candidate for president running against Franklin Roosevelt is a character named
Berzelius Windrip, Buzz for short.
on the campaign trail. Buzz Windrip makes a speech.
I am just a common man, a plain man, darn near as plain and common as Abe Lincoln, or that old Virginia hick farmer, George Washington, who chased the redcoats from the land, by golly, with a pitchfork. Folks were wrong when they thought this trip was to educate people about Buzz. No. It's me that got educated. What grand people I've been meeting. And everywhere, I have found that the true American people, divided, kept apart by the politicians, who in their insensate selfishness befool the very constituents who have placed them on their tinsel thrones. We ought to go forth into the great councils of state, not asking for anything, but telling them, if you honor me with your votes, I shall not be president. No, I mean that. Not be president at all. But the telephone central, through whom every man in this great land can get in touch with every other man, so that for the first time since 1861, we can be joined in one unified nation that will sweep the world.
Doremus Jessup, educated, liberal.
Complacent.
Doremus Jessup, whose belief in reason over emotion naively extends to his fellow citizens, concludes,
It's not so much that I trust Windrip as that I trust that.
Just what?
That.
quote from the original stage directions, with a wide gesture, he indicates the valley and the far-off hills.
Look, God's own free, open American country. Do you know how big Texas is? As big as any 3 European countries put together. This isn't any one-horse European country that a dictator could get hold of. No, sir, it's too big. Dictatorship? Can't happen here.
May 10th, 1933, Berlin. In an effort to cleanse Germany of un-German books, 25,000 volumes are burned.
Burn Freud!
Burn Einstein!
Burn Kafka!
Burn Brecht.
Burn
Burn
Sinclair Lewis!
December 5th, 2023. The Fight Book Bans Act is introduced to the House of Representatives. Congressman Jamie Raskin, quote,
America is in the middle of an escalating book ban crisis that requires our full attention and strong response. Sinister campaigns to remove books from our schools and libraries are a hallmark of authoritarian and fascist regimes.
Ban Atwood!
Ban me? Margaret Atwood? Quote, I had thought America was against totalitarianism. If so, surely it is important for young people to be able to recognize signs of them. One of those signs is book banning. Need I say more?
Ban Morrison!
Ban me? Toni Morrison? Quote, I come from a race of people for whom at one time in this country it was illegal to be taught to read. White people who taught black people to read were taking the risk of being punished. I think the same sensibilities that informed those people to make it a criminal act for black people to read are the ancestors of the same people who are making it a criminal act for their own children to read. And I don't see a great deal of difference between that.
Ban Henry Louis Gates!
Ban me, quote, censorship is to art as lynching is to justice.
But can it happen here?
It is happening here.
Whoa,
It just
there's
looks
no
like it's
way.
happening, but it's really not.
Okay, maybe it's happening just a little bit in Florida, okay? And like Texas or whatever.
But this is America.
This is America!
It
can't happen here.
Well, that's a relief. But really? Why are you so certain it can't?
November 12th, 2023, at a rally in Claremont, New Hampshire.
The former president of the United States, campaigning for his third consecutive nomination to be Republican candidate for president, said,
We pledge to you that we will root out the communist, Marxist, fascist, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and shield and steal elections. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
threat from within? What does that mean? What is he talking about?
By Act 3 of It Can't Happen Here, Doremus Jessup is tortured and imprisoned in a concentration camp for seditious writing critical of the Windrip administration.
He dreams of escape to a better place.
Think of a place where you can speak right out without looking back over your shoulder. Think of Montreal.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming. Your concern, your patriotism, and that's a tricky word, is deeply moving to me. To my memory. My name is Dorothy Thompson. I lived from 1893 to 1961, and I enjoyed the wonderful distinction of being the first American journalist to be expelled from Nazi Germany in 1934. I wrote a book called I Saw Hitler, out of print, alas, but quite the sensation at the time, and described the man thus. He is formless. He is inconsequent and voluble, ill-poised, and insecure. He is the very prototype of the little man. Ring any bells? I was married to Sinclair Lewis. He also wrote a book which was quite a sensation at the time, but his is still very much in print, the bastard. What did I learn from my time in Germany? When our dictator shows up, and you can depend on it that he will, he'll be one of the boys. He will stand for everything traditionally American, and nobody will say Heil to him, or call him Führer, or Duce. They will greet him with one great big universal democratic sheep-like bleat of, "Okay, chief, fix it if you wanna, okay, chief, okay!" My greatest concern in 1936, yes, but for all of you here in 2024, perhaps it is even more so, is this. You have moved so far away from an informed public to a persuaded public. And when liberty is taken away by force, it can be restored by force. But when it is relinquished by default, it can never be recovered.
Dorothy talks it as I live and breathe. And I don't. Not since 1967. May I rest in peace. I'm the other Dorothy, the funny one, Dorothy Parker. And I hear you. When editors asked me what I was doing to combat fascism, I could only answer, not enough. My last editor asked, God damn it, why can't you be funny anymore?
In 1936, Dorothy Parker helped found the Hollywood Anti-Nazi League. When she died in 1967, she bequeathed her estate to Martin Luther King Jr.
Like so many writers who were anti-fascist activists in the 1930s, I was blacklisted in the 1950s by the distinguished Republican from Wisconsin, Senator Joe McCarthy.
I have here in my hand a list of 200 people that were known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party.
One of the many times when it did happen here. God damn it, why can't I make that sound funny?
Before the internet,
And podcasts.
And blogs,
long before 8-track tapes,
And television.
and color movies.
there was only radio.
And in 1936, if you wanted to win the presidency, you absolutely had to have the support of
Father Charles Coughlin.
The radio priest,
Demagogue and master of the media.
reaching a quarter of all Americans every week.
In the play, Lewis calls him Pastor Paul Peter Prank.
Today, we might call him Fox.
Spoiler alert, FDR did not have the support of either Father Charles Coughlin
Of course he did not have my support. Democracy in America is doomed. This is our last election. It is fascism or communism. We're all at a crossroads. I take the road to fascism.
Father,
And when we get through with the Jews of America, they'll think the treatment they received in Germany was nothing.
Nor did FDR have the support of Pastor Paul Peter Pratt, the fictional father in Lewis's play, whose imitation of Coughlin wasn't terribly exaggerated.
I am Pastor Peter Paul Prang, and while I have no quarrel with individual Jews, those subversive international organizations, which unfortunately are so largely Jewish, must be driven with whips and scorpions from the face of the earth.
Today we have Tucker Carlson.
Kamala Harris is a member of the new master race, She must be shown maximum respect at all times, no matter what she says or does.
And Alex Jones.
Unfortunately, folks, we gotta help the innocents and face the demons that have taken over. We gotta face it. Most of your top government people are child rapists, murdering scum. I've told you everything else. You've seen it come true. It's a pedophile army.
And a former,
President of the United States.
ordered by a Manhattan jury to pay $83 million for defaming a woman he raped in a department store.
What was the reaction of the former?
Oh, President of the United States?
As he left the courtroom?
This is not America.
Actually, it is.
This is not America.
It is, actually. Yep, sure is.
No, this is not.
Nobody is above the law.
This is not America.
Yeah.
This is not America. It is not.
Yes,
it is.
Fearing for the precarious hold on power, in Sinclair Lewis's play, President Buzz Windrip raises an armed militia.
An armed militia which is independent of established government agencies.
An armed militia which is directly accountable to President Windrip.
An armed militia which imprisons,
Assaults.
And murders American citizens who disagree in any way with President Windrip.
An armed militia with the sole function of intimidating dissent.
In Sinclair Lewis's fiction, they are called
The
Minutemen.
Minutemen,
In America, in 2024, they are called
Army of God,
Aryan's Nation,
Boogaloo Boys.
Auto Keepers,
White League,
Proud Boys,
Patriot Movement,
Imperial Clans of America.
QAnon,
all awaiting instructions from their commander-in-chief.
I am your voice. I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged or betrayed,
Instructions which may be issued on January 6th
I am your retribution.
or on any other day.
Stand back and stand by.
Sinclair Lewis ended his play, It Can't Happen Here, with the admonishment. Remember everything. Remember America.
but what America exactly are we to remember?
In the America I remember, I can check out any book from the library and read all the possibilities. I imagine freely. No books are banned or burning in the America I remember.
In the America I remember, I can seek help when my body and future are in danger. I have choice.
I remember never having a lockdown drill. Never having heard the words school shooting. I can go to school unafraid in America that I remember.
The America I remember opens its golden door and cries, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free."
I remember all of our votes being counted fair and free. Elections being fair and free. America, I remember.
Remember with us.
Remember everything.
Remember
America.
But how? How are we going to do that?
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, from border to border and coast to coast. This is Walter Winchell. Now let's get to the press.
Remember that Sinclair Lewis's play was seen across the nation 1 week before the 1936 presidential election.
The results are in from the election. President Roosevelt has carried every state in the nation except 2.
Remember America.
As Maine goes, so goes Vermont.
Remember your sacred duty as a citizen of this nation.
Vote in
in
November
November
1936.
We did.
is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it is my privilege to serve as your newly re-elected president. I see a great nation upon a great continent. But here is our challenge to democracy. I see tens of millions of its citizens denied the necessities of life. 1/3 of the nation ill-housed, ill-clad, ill-nourished. We are determined to make every American citizen the subject of this country's interest and concern. I shall do my utmost to speak their purpose and to do their will, to give light to them that sit in darkness and to guide our feet unto the way of peace.
Remember America.
Remember America.
But what do we do?
What do we do?
Pay attention.
What do we do?
Get involved.
What do we do?
Ask a question.
What do we do?
Read.
What do we do?
Listen closely.
What do we do?
Give respect.
What do we do?
Challenge authority.
What do we do?
Think.
What do we do?
Say their names.
What do we do?
Believe women.
What do we do?
Stay awake.
What do we do?
Act.
What do we do?
Open your mind.
What do we do?
Get the facts.
What do we do?
Show up.
What do we do?
Vote.
What do we do?
Vote!
What do we do?
Vote!
What do we do?
Vote! What do we do? Vote!
We are the writers for Democratic Action, and we approve this gathering. Thank you for coming.
It must not happen here.
Get out!